Good morning. I know that, like many of you, I've really been troubled by the recent events in our country. I can find it very difficult, really hard to watch that video where George Floyd dies. And then we've now had all of these protests going on across America, some peaceful and some not so peaceful. And now all the discussion about racism and police brutality. There's a couple things that I really wanted to say and just remind us all. Obviously, the death of George Floyd was so inexplicably wrong, everything about it. And I'm glad I live in a country where people can protest peacefully. Things need to be said. People need to speak up. And not all protesters are bad people. Those who begin to burn and loot, well, I don't think that's right at all. And that does need to be stopped. But a peaceful protest, someone who wants to speak up, they're not bad people. And police. The overwhelming majority of police across America are wonderful people who are on the front lines trying to protect us and bless life. Are there bad police? Absolutely. Just as there are rotten people in every profession, whether it's being preachers or teachers or lawyers. So be careful when we start taking a paintbrush to wipe it across all people. We need to remember to look at individuals and to have a civil discussion about really important issues. It's very important to remember that we're called to love our neighbor, no exception. That is our theme for this year. That theme came about because back in October of 2018, we had the shooting there at a New Life Synagogue there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We had so many people, 11 different people killed who were at worship. It was a horrible thing caused by prejudice of people against Jews. And it wasn't long after that we wound up having the shooting down in New Zealand, there at Christ Church, and 51 people were killed, Muslims who were also going to worship. And we've been reminded of all that prejudice that goes on in our world because of religion and race and sexuality, our sexual orientation. It's not who we're called to be. No, we chose this because it was Tom Hanks who was there filming that movie for Mr. Rogers in Pittsburgh, and he drove by and he saw a sign on a Catholic church marquee, and it said, "Love your neighbor, no exception." Tom Hanks took a picture of it and posted it, and we saw it and said, that needs to be the theme for our church for a year, because that's been our spirit for 131 years. We need to lift this up as the theme, though, in 2020, because we knew there was going to be a general conference, the Methodist Church, and there was going to be such division over this issue of sexual orientation. We did it for 2020 because we knew there was going to be a presidential election, and so many people would be so angry with one another. It's why we chose the theme for this year. And when we chose that theme, we had no idea that there was about to be a pandemic for the coronavirus, or there would be this terrible tragedy with George Floyd. And we would not have a general conference for the Methodist Church. But the theme was so important. So many people are talking right now, and they're saying we need to talk about this issue of racism. And what do we do? At St. Luke's, we've already been doing. When the problem happened with the coronavirus, and OG&E asked us if we would be willing to oversee a program of taking their funds, $250,000, and then more money that came in, go buy meals from restaurants to help restaurant owners stay open and afloat, and then feed those who had lost their job because of the economic downturn of the coronavirus. Well, let me tell you, when we cast this vision and we went out and chose restaurants, we chose restaurants that were owned by people who were Vietnamese, people who were Hispanic, people who were African American, people who were white, male, female restaurant owners. There is such a diversity of people who show up every single week bringing meals. It wasn't an accident. It was done with intentionality. Because all of these people are a part of the community, the neighborhood. And we wanted to make sure that all of us were saying we care about helping other people. And now there's been hundreds of you who have come and worked at delivering meals, and we've delivered them all over the city. And do you know, not once have we asked, are you Republican or Democrat? We don't care about somebody's color of their skin, or their sexual orientation, or whether they are Jewish or Muslim or Christian. No, we've been out there taking care of one another the way we're supposed to do it. So many of you have volunteered and worked. So many of you have sent in extra contributions. No, I'm glad there's a lot of people out there wanting to talk about this. But we're already doing something about all this. We're living and being neighbors with one another. You know, it was Jesus who said, people will know that you're my disciples by the way that you love one another. I want to say thank you. Thank you for the way that you have been out loving one another. Please keep on loving your neighbor, no exception. Have a good day.